What's up, guys? It's your boy Evan. So I feel like my questions have been answered right now. I know I'm 13 days, 12 days late. I couldn't check this when it dropped because now the hype bug has bit me again. And in my previous video, I was asking about, what's this for? Is this for the new spin-off show? Is this for the game? I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I discovered that there's a video by Necrit. I've reacted to him before in the past, and he explained everything. So I could have not chosen a better time than now to react to League of Legends content, and with what we just saw, it must be. I want it to be a new spin-off show because, yeah, Arcane was a banger, and from my experience with these guys, they don't miss. So I have a feeling that they're not gonna miss with this one. So yeah, that's too much talking, man. Let's just get right into this reaction. If you like this reaction, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the video. Let's get it.
Now, I could really turn this into half an hour long video if I wanted, but I value your time, so I'm only
Honestly,
So
watching this previous video, it felt like a movie with the way it was explaining and everything.
Riot cooked. It doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
a fan of League of Legends.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you are a fan of Arcane.
Yeah.
That cinematic
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm not
enjoyed
sure
it.
what's cooler, the fact that we are constantly getting high quality cinematics, or the fact that this is Fortige who is doing this. Meaning that all of this is aligning with Arcane.
Yeah.
And let me tell you.
So I wasn't wrong then.
Connect this to Arcane.
So if any of you in the comments are flaming me for connecting this to Arcane, you heard it from Necri himself. You heard it from Necri himself. So don't blame me when I see the visuals, when I see the animation, when I see the story and everything just reminds me of Arcane. Come on now, do not blame me. Alright, I lost it there. Alright. Calm down, Evan. Because I see it in the comments and people flame me. I'm like, dude, I can't help it. Alright, let's continue on.
Are taking a cinematic that is a bit less than 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
The truth is, this cinematic is just one big tease, as well as a tease for the next season, as well as possibly a tease for the next champion. And so, you know what?
I know he's talking about the game, but I was about to lose my shit right there.
But you can already see that it is missing Mordekaiser's runes, which were previously present in the
Oh.
comics. And that is of course because with Mordekaiser being gone, or at least banished for now, LeBlanc took the item that bound this demon, that being the helmet, and she bound it to her own will. In fact, that is what all the black goop is about.
Okay.
Arcane is still technically bound to the helmet.
Okay, that's why it's in
Now,
the
the chances
helmet.
are that a lot of people watching this video will not have the context of all the other lore.
Yeah, I don't know shit about
Bring
this.
you up to speed. You see, from
Thank
the
you.
very first cinematic we got right after Arcane for the beginning of the Noxus season,
Yep.
there was a whole new storyline that started developing.
Okay, so it's the Noxus season. So it's the game. Yeah, that's why it's season 1. It's the game.
If you go back to that first
the
cinematic,
game.
you can see that LeBlanc is looking at something powerful on a wall.
Yeah.
At that time, we had
Kind of
no
looked
idea
like a really complex tattoo design.
what that was, and so to us it was just a symbol. After this, Mordekaiser's comic was released, where we learned about the lore of Arcane, a creature that was created through the fusion of Mordekaiser's best friend and a demon. But after Mordekaiser died and then was resurrected, and
How
then
did he
died
die, though?
again, the demon fell into the hands of LeBlanc, which is where at the
Yeah.
end of that comic we learned that LeBlanc decided to unleash the demon from the helmet, so it could roam the land and sate its hunger. After which, the Demon's Hand minigame was released in League of Legends, which really told us what happened here. You see, in reality, LeBlanc never freed the demon. The demon was always in the pale room which we've seen in the cinematic. It was all just an illusion in the demon's head. And LeBlanc did all of this because she wanted to evoke the demon's memories. Through these memories, she could learn more about Mordekaiser's fall. She could learn more about the dark magic Mordekaiser was studying. She could even learn about the magical process of binding people to items and demons. But mainly, she wanted to evoke the demon's memories to suppress the human side. Because again, as a reminder, Arcane is the merging of Mordekaiser's general and a demon. And with only the demon remaining, there would be no confusion with the memories, and so LeBlanc could get the demon's knowledge.
So she
with
can
that,
control.
she could learn where the powerful item she was after was hiding, and so after unleashing Arcane at the very end of the minigame, we learned that the powerful item was indeed a Darkin, and we learned that it was hidden in Ionia. And that is what brings us to this cinematic. LeBlanc just managed to break Arcane from Mordekaiser's shackles, and she bound it to the Black Rose. And now, the story is about to continue. It begins with the amazing reveal of Arcane being rendered by Fortiche. And oh boy, does it look great. Again, if you are wondering
yeah,
why
I did
Arcane
not
has
even
human hands,
get
it's
that
not because
one.
he would be trying to mimic humans like other demons who will lure them. Instead, in this case, it's because those hands actually belong to Katashli, who used to be Mordekaiser's general. But then, when Arcane steps back from the wall, the shot reveals the Darkin. Now first, during this shot, you can see all of those pink petals flying in.
Yeah, where were
Where
they?
are they coming from? We don't know. We are dealing with Arcane and LeBlanc and a whole bunch of illusions, so anywhere really.
Okay.
But the point is,
Fair enough.
pink petals are related to Ionia. We can pick and choose specific scenes where they were used, including spirits.
Okay, kinda looks like
More
Revenant.
importantly, again, it is Fortiche, so this is full
Sorry
of details.
for
so
bringing
in
up
this case, the pink
Apex.
petals are a massive contrast to the classic Black Rose petals,
Yeah.
which LeBlanc usually has around her.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the image on the wall, you can see that the Darkin already looks slightly different. Before, in the first cinematic, in order for Riot to keep it more of a mystery, it was more vague. But now the image has a proper shape.
Yeah.
So now we know.
Yeah,
that the
I kinda
Darkin,
can
who is
see-
very likely
kinda
gonna be the
see
next champion, is a glaive, which is something we mostly know about because Riot accidentally teased this on their
Our nation cursed glaive.
media. And so Vladimir then steps into the debate, and he calls the location the First Lands. This is a really cool nod towards League's lore, because the First Lands is a very archaic word for Ionia, with the cool detail here being that Vladimir is old. It makes sense that he would be using old terms. But after this,
now this is
Ionia mentioned that
interesting. I can't lie.
Norway, after which Arcane teased her to come and claim her prize
Yeah.
in his world. Now all of this is actually tied together, because this is all referencing what Ionia is really about. With Ionia being a continent that is heavily connected with spirits. This is why these lands are full of the Arcana, who are the good demons, or the Azakana, who are the lesser bad.
There's an I'm guessing this is probably from the comics, but it looks like an anime to me, man. Covered now. If there is, if I'm actually not wrong, and there's an anime, come on, link your boy up, man. I wanna learn more. Come on, link your boy up.
And so it is likely that this is what Arcane is referencing here. Ionia is absolutely a land filled with similar beings.
Yeah, like him.
Including something like Nocturne.
Yep.
And that is where the cinematic may get a bit confusing. Because apparently there was miscommunication with translation. You see, Vladimir mentions that LeBlanc should be listening to her puppet, likely mentioning Arcane, but he adds that she has no host. Now, a host can have two meanings. A host, as in a body for a Darkin, because remember, the Darkin are the twisted souls of the Ascended who were sealed inside weapons, and they can be unleashed when someone picks up the weapon, after which the Darkin dominate their bodies. So in other words, the wielder becomes the host. So, for example, in the case of someone like Aatrox, we are not really looking at the Darkin, we are looking at the host, which is a twisted human being which picked up the blade. But the thing is that a host can also be a war host. Because remember, during the invasion of Ionia, LeBlanc actually had quite a few squads in Ionia. For example, let's not forget the Sisterhood of War. On top of this, during the invasion of Ionia,
the lore
Grand
is
General of
deep,
Nexus
man.
was Thorin Darkwill, who
The
was
lore is
manipulated by
deep.
LeBlanc like a puppet. So during his reign, LeBlanc essentially owned the entire Noxian army. The problem is then that when this cinematic was translated into different languages, some languages used host as in a body, and other languages called it a war host. So now we're not exactly sure which one of these this is. Though I'm gonna assume that it is actually talking about a body, as in a host for a Darkin. In the entire context of this cinematic, that would make sense. Although there is another thing that could be mentioned. In the latest story which LeBlanc got, and I know, it's crazy, we actually got a new story. It was revealed that LeBlanc's clones are fully sentient. They are also spread across the entire world, with the coolest part being that they all believe that they are the real LeBlanc. So if you really twist it enough, Vladimir could be talking about the fact that LeBlanc doesn't have a host, as in a clone in Ionia, but I don't think that's the case. Sure, the new story revealed that she had a clone in Ionia watching over Syndra, but after Syndra was unleashed, we can assume that clone was lost, but I doubt she wouldn't have another one around. So, to tie everything back, Vladimir is reminding LeBlanc that she doesn't have a body that could become a host for the Darkin, after which he just casually drops a big lore bomb. Because he also mentioned that the new Grand General would not approve another campaign in Ionia. This is big because it actually puts on some timeline for Arcane. So now we know that the Ionian invasion concluded just as Arcane finished. So I guess Singed didn't really make weapons for Noxus. Which also means that the Noxian invasion of Ionia likely happened during the first act of Arcane. And so after Arcane was done, Swain came back from the invasion of Ionia. He killed Darkwill,
that's why we got that Raven at the end of Arcane. I'll go by days, the way they all connect. That's why I see you guys see the Raven with the three, cause when I was like, what am I looking at here? Oh, now the plot thickens.
Of course, in the present days, Noxus is supposed to be led by 3 people, that being Swain, Darius, and a mysterious figure. But even within this context, Swain would still be called the Grand General. So we are not sure if the leadership of Triforix was already established. Anyway, continuing on. Atakan starts to get restless. He did all of LeBlanc's bidding and now he wants to be unleashed. Which is where LeBlanc starts whispering something to the demon.
Yeah, what did she...
For the most part, we can just speculate
we don't know.
What that is. Because Atakan goes frenzy, we can assume that she teased him that she might release him after the entire task is done, so that after 1,000 years he can finally feast. Or maybe she just mocked him by whispering his real name.
I was about to say, I was say something corny, but nah. Especially during the whispering part, I was about to say something corny, but nah. We allow it. If you know
a demon's real name, you can completely dominate it with incantations. Unless she whispered that Atakan is gonna be the next host to the Darkin. That would be wild. Also, a cool detail here is that you can notice the black goop going from the helmet to Atakan. Once again referencing that he is still bound to the helmet.
Yeah, it's connected.
Also, the scene with the chains is indeed a reference to the emote you can get in the game. Now, next, LeBlanc also mentions that losing her host was an unfortunate turn. So, LeBlanc likely had someone who was under her control who was planned to be the next host for the Darkin. The curious thing is that she is talking about all of this after Vladimir talked about the Grand General. So maybe LeBlanc is talking about her losing Bor and Darkwill? So it is possible she also wanted to use him for the Darkin, but then she also mentions the might of Noxus, which is Darius. And this is where things get really confusing. Because again, they are talking about all of this in the context of just talking about the Grand General not approving another campaign in Ionia. So they are almost talking about it as if Darius was the leader of Noxus. Now, it still should be Swain. Swain has the title of the Grand General. But if the Triforix is already established, then sure, Darius is one of the 3 leaders. The confusing thing is that technically they would call Darius the Grand General, which he's not. And so if this is not what they are referencing, then I have no idea why they are bringing up Darius. Though they are bringing him up for one reason. The big point is that LeBlanc wants to go back into Ionia directly through Darius. She likely wants to manipulate him through whispers, as was hinted here, to launch another campaign in Ionia. And we know she's capable of this because in the latest story, it was teased that during the cinematic where Darius was fighting Trundle, one of LeBlanc's clones was hiding in the warhost.
I think I saw it, yeah?
Darius, and so
was it just me?
She can manipulate him.
I think I remember seeing that cinematic.
I point out, it is funny to see how Vladimir is respecting the demon, and he's constantly ready to fight it, but eventually he also agrees to Ionia then. Which pretty much confirms that indeed, the next League of Legends season is gonna be in Ionia. And we are going there because LeBlanc wants to find viarcane there. And we are likely gonna go there because Darius is gonna launch another campaign into Ionia. And best of all, we learned about all of this from an animation that was made by Fortiche. And there you have it, the newest League of Legends. It is wild to see League of Legends lore being so good again. We've been waiting for this for 2 years. And now, in a hilarious twist, the lore community is eating the best. And so,
I want to be part of the lore community, honestly.
I fulfilled my duty with this video.
Okay guys, that was my reaction to the new cinematic explain. Now I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Yeah, I did not completely understand everything that was explained, especially with the lore, because I mean there's one thing that I always knew with League of Legends is that the lore goes deep, the lore runs deep, so I was also gonna get every single thing, and that's why my interest to at least get some form of lore and understand it, if possible without playing the game, would be helpful. But because this is something that when it comes to Arcane really exposed us to League of Legends, me personally exposed me to League of Legends, to be interested in its characters, to be interested in its lore and story and lands and everything, and I just want to be able to do that if possible without playing the game. But I know that at some point is definitely gonna happen. But either ways, the cinematics that we watched was for the game and not for the new spin-off show, which kind of bums me out, to be honest, because the animation, everything was just well done, and well, it kind of gave me hope that the new spin-off show is going to be done well, so I have full confidence in that. So yeah, thank you Nicrit for explaining this video for me, even though I did not completely get everything, but I was able to get some things and enjoyed it either way. So if you like this reaction, I want to see more like this, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.